guest with us today. You found this guest, so I'm going to let you kind of tee it up. I've been on his website. He's got a really cool picture on his website. I could just, we're going to be talking about blackmail, which kind of talk about a dark art of persuasion. Like,
yeah.
I don't even know if that counts as persuasion, but it's, but we're basically going to be talking about kind of how to fight back.
Yeah.
So that's what's really cool about this episode.
The query was on cold reading, but when I read our guest, his bio and what he does, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a great episode right here. So
yeah.
So our guest today is Frank Ahearn. He is also known as the Blackmail Fixer. The Blackmail Fixer. For more than 3 decades, he's helped clients facing blackmail, privacy threats, reputation attacks, stalking, and situations where exposure could destroy careers, relationships, or families. He is also the New York Times bestselling author of How to Disappear and the author of numerous books on privacy, disappearing, blackmail, and reputation protection. So we're going to be talking to him about all sorts of things. But, I've been reading, and I emailed him like, I've been reading cases where a lot of people today online are getting blackmailed. And it's typically happening with what I'm reading with a lot of younger people. And I can only imagine with AI, it's going to be even more of a thing. So, with AI basically creating like fake stuff out there of people, and then you're targeting, people are targeting them for money. And there's a few articles I read recently where people just literally young people have, killed themselves just because they were they were seriously being blackmailed to the point where they were sending these extortioners money on a regular basis, and they just couldn't take it anymore.
Saw no way out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's stop yapping and bring our guest on.
All right. With that said, welcome to the show, Frank Ahearn.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Frank,
thanks for having
welcome.
me.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on. Before we get rolling, what's a reason somebody might stick around and listen to this episode?
Because I am great to know, but you never want to need me.
There you go.
And I built a living on pretty much lying for a living and acts of deception. And I think if you listen to me and you adhere to what I say, you won't be scammed.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good reason to stick around, especially like Jonathan was saying, in today's age where it's getting easier to scam people, I think, than ever before. So we'll talk about some of that too. Yeah,
do you remember you remind me of the guy from the Pulp Fiction, the movie, The Fixer, or maybe he was named something else, but
Mr. White or Mr. Wolf?
Yes, Mr. Wolf. There you go.
Harvey Keitel, right?
Yeah. I love that movie. But yeah, he fixed problems. He solved problems. So
well, it's funny. So somebody said to me once, "So you're like a fixer? What does that mean?" I'm like, "Did you ever watch Ray Donovan?" Like, yeah, like that. But no bodies in the trunks or anything like
That's
that.
right.
Yeah. It's just straight up good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
no
a
bodies.
Great show.
Yeah. Yeah, and you hear any of those, Liam Neeson comes to mind, his characters, Jason Statham, like all those kind of characters. If we blow it over the top, and it's always amazing on those shows. It's like they just drop bodies. Like I'm watching Reacher right now because it's new season just dropped.
It's a cool show, Reacher.
Yeah, and it's like that would never happen. Like it's just but you can't drop that many bodies and not get stopped at some point.
But Reacher's almost like a parody of himself.
Yeah.
And the other one, you can't drop those bodies. A car tumbles over 15 times, you get out of the car and you dust yourself off.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the fight scenes, that's all fight scenes are over the top these days. Like,
oh, they have to be.
Professional MMA fighters can't stand that kind of punishment, and they're somewhat used to it. It's crazy.
How old some of these actors are. As if they're really doing it.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, let's do our beverages real quick, and then we'll jump into the episode. Frank, what do you have in?
Pellegrino, man.
Pellegrino. Green water.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with
that. My drinking days are over.
Yeah. Hey, you're not alone. I mean, it's bad enough here in Texas that, they shut down THC because too many people were switching from alcohol to THC. So they
but
blocked all that.
I went out like a champion, so I figured I was ready to stop it,
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's one way to do it for sure. Well, we're still having a beverage, alcohol on today's show. Jonathan, what are you having?
I'm having, this is a company out of a brewery out of Nashville, here in the I didn't even know these guys were around, but I picked up they have a Southern Blonde ale. It's 5.1 ABV. I don't know not a whole lot about it, just light citrus notes, hints of honey, and a crisp cracker-like malt finish, but brewed by, again, Marble Fox Brewing Company. They're in downtown Nashville. So
very cool. Marble Fox. It's interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, I've got one that I could maybe end up blackmailed for if people find this episode and see what I'm drinking. Who knows what could happen, but it's called Rainbow Sherbet.
Yeah. Somebody's going to screenshot that one there, Sean.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a sour ale with rainbow sherbet flavors from Prairie Artisan Ales.
Yeah.
It's 5.2% alcohol by volume. So it's not an IPA, but it is a sour ale. So that's why I gave it a chance, because I don't do IPAs, but it does look like an IPA.
Yeah.
So
it does.
We'll see what happens. But let's give a quick cheers to not getting blackmailed.
Cheers.
Cheers.
You're not off to a good start there, Sean, with that can.
Yeah, I know. Now, I've had rainbow sherbet in my life, and this ain't it. I can tell you that.
No. Rainbow sherbet is not sour.
No, it's sweet. Yeah. So
I mean, if I was still drinking, I'd have a Guinness with you guys.
Yeah.
Bingo.
We do a lot of dark beers.
Guinness has. I heard, I couldn't believe this, but I heard last week that Guinness has fewer calories than a Bud Light.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because it's you just assume because it's a heavy, it's a darker beer that it's more calories, but that's not the case.
Interesting. It's good trivia right there.
It just tasted good. I didn't care about any of that.
Right.
Exactly. Well, Frank, we usually give a rating. So is that your go-to water when you just...
Absolutely. Pellegrino's number one, man. I mean, listen, the way I look at it, south of France and Pellegrino, what more could you ask for?
Yeah.
Goes hand in hand. So. Yeah. So on a scale of 1 to 5 pints, you would give that, 5 being the best, you'd give that a
5 the best, man.
All right. There you go. All right. We don't get a lot of 5s on the show, so that's good. Jonathan, what do you give your Southern Blonde?
Well, it's a blonde, but it's not as beautiful as I expected it to be. I'm going to give it a 3. This one will get a 3-4. 3-4.
Let down by another blonde.
Yeah, it's usually been the case for me.
Yeah, stick with brunettes. All right. Well, I give mine's actually not bad. It's a sour ale. So I kind of knew what to knew what to expect going in. It's not bad. It's not like hoppy or anything like that, like an IPA. So yeah, I'm going to give this a 3.9. It's decent. I can drink it. It's drinkable.
Yeah.
It's not too bad. Just a little embarrassed by the can. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. You knocked some points off for that, I'm sure.
Yeah. So anyway. All right. Good stuff. Let's roll. Jonathan, you brought the guest on, found the guest. So I'll let you kick off the questions today.
Yeah, so I'm interested, Frank, would love to hear kind of the origin story, kind of your early beginnings, because I know I'm very familiar with the book you wrote, How to Disappear, and I feel like I've heard an interview with you in the past on that book, because that book is very popular. And so when did you write that? When did you write that book?
I think around 2010 or something like that.
Okay.
And it's really weird. I just kind of I just wrote it, printed a bunch of books. I sent them to publishers. And I got an offer first from Penguin in Australia, and I just thought it was a scam, and I just deleted it, you know. And then they messaged me back, and then it kind of just like blew up. But it's funny because you know, what I originally did was I was like a social engineer skip tracer, where I used to find people, but
Mm-hmm.
being a social engineer, there's like in the mid to late 80s, no databases. I used to just do a lot of pretexting into like phone companies, banks, airlines, law enforcement. And I used to just extract the information, which helped me hunt down people. So I was like really, really good at that. And so I did that for quite some time up until like early 2000. And then I just accidentally got into the privacy end of things. And I was asked to write an article for a website about disappearing. And next thing I know, it was like this really cheesy article, like totally chopped up, but it just blew up. And next thing I know, people just started contacting me, and I just realized I can make a living doing this.
Absolutely.
And somebody said, "Can you help me disappear?" It's like, yeah, I can do that. It's the reverse engineering of finding people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of people, that's a popular topic. I'm sure that people, I think we all kind of fantasize about just like what it'd be like just to,
we all
go into obscurity and start over again in life, not that we would.
I think a lot of people reach that point where they just want something new. I mean, life is tough. And I think also, a lot of times people contact me and read my book. I think it's almost like a cathartic thing for them.
Yeah.
I thought about disappearing, they were never going to go anywhere. But, today, I mean, you can just disappear like that and, be on the other side of the world and have an apartment and a bank account. It just can be ideal. Why stay where you are? Disappear.
Is it more challenging today with technology than it was when you first wrote the book? Do you think? I mean, is it a lot more difficult?
But there's also technology that helps you disappear as well.
Sure. Right.
There's app bank accounts where it's on your phone. There's no bank tellers. There's digital currency, offshore banking. So even as technology changes, but really what's made it more difficult is the physical aspect of it. Facial recognition, social media and things of that nature. But I always say, it's a double-edged coin, because it depends what you're better at. And when you're disappearing, it doesn't matter. Meaning you could do all the things in the world, but the question is how good is the person who's hunting you?
Yeah.
That's what I always talk about my client, who's the predator?
Right.
How much money do they have? Do they have more money than you?
Sure.
And so those are the things so I don't think there's really, I think what's different is, back in the prior to like 2000, it was easier to probably get a new identity, a fake identity, where today it's not so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just
I think
I disappeared.
Yeah. Sorry. Look at that. Just disappeared.
My dog was just standing aimless. So
yeah.
I think that's what's changed.
Yeah. I almost hear like two different types of disappearing. I hear like a starting over disappearing, and then like a don't want to be found disappearing. Do you get different versions like that? Like, is there a spectrum that you hear from people?
Yeah, I mean, it always people contact me either because of money, violence, starting over, or they're going to be doing some time. They don't want to do it, which I don't deal with those people. But today, I think people have recognized a new sense of freedom, and that freedom being, you know what, I work wherever I am, so I can live anywhere I want. And a lot of people have found a freedom in that, saying, what am I doing here? Or I've come into some money and I hate everybody and I don't want them to find me again. Then you have like wealthier people who want to protect their world, from predators and make sure their children are safe. And so there's different types of privacy and extreme privacy that people search out. But most people come to the point where something happened and they just want to be elsewhere, and nobody can find them.
Yeah.
You
ever had anybody with ties to the mob that wanted to disappear?
Yeah, I've had like plenty of. Yeah, but if you have a pending legal issue, I
Yeah.
won't do business with you.
Right.
And I've had some people like, look, I'm not getting involved in your world. Okay,
Right.
I don't want that. I've met some really really crazy people and dangerous people, and I just I like my life, so I don't want to upset
Yeah.
that.
But like people that may want to leave that, not necessarily that are in trouble with the law, but may
Yeah,
want to
I've done a
leave.
lot of work. I've done work with some high end uh, people in the drug world who just like left
Yeah.
it and
Hmm.
realized that it wasn't safe for them to stay,
Right.
and so there's one to make sure they want to disappear with their family, but they have to, if somebody said to me, I'm in the drug business now and I'm looking to go, my point is get out of the drug business, then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
you know
Let's start
and
there
there's a
first.
and there's also a difference between running and disappearing. A lot of
Yeah.
those people in that world end up running from their past, not so much disappearing from it.
And
Interesting.
relocating is not the answer because they'll track you down.
It's yeah, I mean, because I worked with this one guy, right? He had a lot of money, and
Yeah.
he was just basically replacing his life in a different place, but living the exact same way. I'm
Right.
like, look, man, I was like, you eat in the finest restaurant, you stay in the most expensive hotels in the world,
Hmm.
and you're still going to do that. They're going to find you, and it didn't get into his head. He just wanted to leave that world, but utilize the money he had in a different place. And I'm like, well, you're not going to last very long
No.
because you
It's
have,
kind of
they have.
and that reminds me of the scene from Breaking. Did you ever see Breaking Bad at the end where
Oh yeah,
he calls the plumber or what's the
the guy in
guy?
the white van, the guy in the van.
Yeah. And so basically he's saying the same thing. Like you've got to live. I mean, when you disappear, this is the way you got to disappear. And he's living in some rusted cabin, up in the middle
Yeah,
of
Sounds great to
nowhere.
me.
yeah. I mean, that's unrealistic because one thing I always talk to people about is you got to go to a place where you can acclimate.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be miserable there, there's no
Right.
point in doing it. My point is, you have to change your lifestyle.
Right.
You can't be Johnny Miami and then be like Johnny Los Angeles.
Right.
Going to the
Yeah.
nightclubs and hanging out. That
Sure.
part of your world has to change because when I was like hunting people down and skip tracing, it was all about the way I looked at it is I was looking for things about their life that they're going to do in that new place. And if I can find those things, I will find then the guy I'm looking for. It's the habits.
Yeah.
If you don't change your habits, they just find you.
So does that mean you're going cash only and like
No, because you
so
can listen. You can exist with an offshore bank account,
mhm.
or a corporate account somewhere.
Yeah.
If they don't know about it, yeah, but you
Right.
have to remember, we're not talking about people who are being hunted by the NSA. It's a
Yeah.
big misconception. Like people contact me with like all this privacy. It's like this, and they're more interested in the text and the tools of it.
Mhm.
And most people are located because of a mistake that they made, something human, not necessarily technical. It's like the great story of I'm not familiar with John Stonehouse. He was a member of Parliament, many years back. He faked his death off of a beach, right?
Wow.
And but he was in Australia, and in Australia, he was going to a bank and changing British money for Australian money, and he's always reading a British newspaper, and the bank teller called the police, said there's something really suspicious about him. And what happened was the police arrested him, and they
Mhm.
thought he was actually Lord Lucan, who also disappeared and who killed his housekeeper and disappeared.
Oh
And he
wow.
thought he was, and it was just like this fluke thing that he was found. But then they realized it was John Stonehouse who disappeared. And
Right.
you know, I always, it's the fluke factor. I always talk about with clients. I was like, I'm not technical. I don't talk technical. I was like, if they're gonna find you, they're gonna find you by something stupid you've done.
Mhm.
And that's what you have to be really careful of. What do you do if you're standing in Starbucks in Lisbon and all of a sudden behind you is somebody you went to school with? and they say, hey, you know, and they all of a sudden they post on Twitter, I saw so and so from high school in Lisbon. You know, it's being able to like play things out and just not allowing your mistakes to, you know, walk you through that trap door.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the blackmail part of our episode. So you were skip tracing, and then you kind of, how did you get into this side of the business and helping people?
You know, this woman contacted me because she was involved in a romance scam, and she realized she was scammed by somebody. Somebody was using these fake photos, but she wanted me to find the guy in the photos because she was in love with the guy in the photos, right? And it's the weird thing. But ironically, then somebody contacted me, and the guy says, have you ever heard of sissy faggot blackmail? I'm like, no, I've never heard of that. And basically what it is, and you know, I'm not trying to be derogatory, this is a real thing. These men, they go to these dominatrix who had websites, and they would take these very disturbing photos of themselves, you know, like naked, you know, stuff hanging out of their mouths and whatever. And but they would be hold up their like driver's license with their identity, and they would send it to this dominatrix who would they pay her to put it on their website. Then they'd pay her to take it down. So this guy realized that, you know, he was changing jobs and it could be a problem with the internet and new job. And but she wasn't taking it down and keeping it down. She kept putting it up. And I was able to basically manipulate her to get it taken down for good. And I realized, wow, there's something to this blackmail stuff. And next thing you know, I just started doing more blackmail work. And, you know, I'm really good at um, taking over situations and directing them the way I want them to end, you know, because I deal with the blackmailer directly. They think I'm the client, the victim.
Right.
And so, you know, my expertise is just dealing with that, dealing with the stress of it, and just manipulating them to prevent the exposure through stalling the payments. Because blackmail, the thing about blackmail is the it's about money, it's about getting paid. And so it's a transactional situation, and the only leverage the victim has is money. And if you can stall that with them, eventually the blackmail deflates and the blackmailer will move on. It's just a very stressful time for a person to deal with. But then you have other blackmailers who are just like not interested in money. They're just interested in destroying people.
Yeah, those are probably much more difficult to deal with, I guess, if it's more of a Is it like a thrill for them? The second group?
Man, some sick shit. I mean, I've seen them do some really horrifying things. And I think they just get off on it. And they like the terrorizing. I don't get it. You know, listen, I understand crime from a profit perspective, you know, but crime for this emotional destruction, I just don't get.
Yeah.
But it's not about,
that's really
you know, there's not, you can't stop it. It's more about damage control in that type of situation.
Right. Yeah, and that's the scarier type, that emotion, like your emotional type motivated crime. That's
because it's almost like it's psychotic, you know, they're obsessive. I mean, it's obsessive that they're going after you like this. You know, if it's not about money, it's got to be something else that they're completely obsessed about.
Yeah, blackmail is only about two things: either money or destruction, and that's it. But dealing with a money blackmailer is easier because it's about the money. And then you have, you know, there's online groups. There's like Filipino group, Moroccan group, and Cote d'Ivoire group. Those are the three largest groups out there. And it's a business. They run this like a business, and they know they'd rather get paid than destroy someone.
Sure.
You know, but the emotional aspect for the victim is they think this is going to be the last payment, this is going to be the last payment, this is going to be the last payment. And there's no such thing as a final payment in blackmail. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah, so I was reading on your website. That's like, and maybe you can talk more about this, like the biggest mistakes people make, because the first thing is they panic and then they block the person, like thinking it'll just go away, right?
Right. Well, number one, I mean, the first problem is they pay. As soon as you pay, they're just demanding more money. But it's kind of understandable because the victim doesn't know what to do.
Right.
And then what happens is they go online and they read this really bad information, like on Reddit. Like some idiot will post, "Oh, I was blackmailed and I ignored them. They went away." It's like, yeah, well, that may have worked for you. It doesn't mean it's going to work for the other guy,
Sure.
And the problem with blocking them, if you block them, they're just going to contact somebody and send them some very uncomfortable messages about you to get your attention. And because they created the profile, they chatted with you, they had a video with you, and they want to get paid for their time.
Right.
And that's what happens. And the key is always to look, I have no money. I need 3 days. I can get you some money. My friend's going to lend me some money. But it's hard for a victim to do that because the blackmailer is sending pictures of their wife, their Facebook friends, their mother, their LinkedIn, their job, and it's hard to stand your ground on something like that.
Are these all real photos? I mean, or are some of these manipulated?
Yeah, no, these are real. These are real photos, or these are real videos that the victims made the mistake of. So the new idea is like AI blackmail, and it's not really what people think. Okay, people think that because you don't need AI to get a man to expose himself online. Okay, that's just the truth. Okay, where AI is being used is more in targeting in targeting type cases, where what they're doing is targeting high net worth individuals, right? So they're going on LinkedIn or something like that, and they're looking at that guy because you can type into like AI and say, listen, what profession makes $400,000 a year and has like licenses and they need reputation, and AI will come back this boom, 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 boom. And what they're doing is they just hit them up with a blackmail. Listen, you've been going to an escort. I have text messages, and they have manipulated text messages like or LinkedIn messages. And so they hit these individuals, and what happens is a lot of these individuals, they just want this to go away, and they'll pay. They just figure it's a scam. Let me just pay, it'll go away. But once you're paying, they just keep coming back for more. But sometimes if you're a lawyer, they'll contact the bar association, a doctor, the medical. So they go around you and create some sort of disturbance first. And they create this fake blackmail scenario. How they're doing it with women is, I'm looking for a woman who makes this kind of money, okay? And I want a profile that she would be attracted to. And so it's being used to create better profiles for the blackmailers and the romance scammers. That's more so where the AI is coming into play.
So I was reading, and this happened like this typically happening to younger people. I mean, any age.
No, more adults. More adults.
Okay. Because I pulled up this article so this was. It looks like this was a couple of months ago. It says father of a Michigan teen who died by suicide after being blackmailed reacts. But anyway, this teen took his own life after he fell victim to sextortion on Instagram, where people. So what happened here is a pair of Nigerian con artists tricked him into sending pictures of himself and then threatened to share them. So I guess they were creating a profile of some young, attractive female that he was talking to and got him into sending pictures or whatever. And then they blackmailed him from that.
Yeah, listen, unfortunately, the problem with minors is they have nowhere to turn because, they'll contact me sometimes and I can't help them. And I'm like, look, you got to speak to your parents. Your parents, want to know about this, that they'll help you. But they're devastated. They just don't know what to do. And most kids don't want to say, hey, I sent some nude photos of myself, and they're afraid to call law enforcement. And so a lot of minors just end up just dealing with this just by themselves. And it's really a shame.
Yeah.
And I feel terrible that I can't tell them what to do, but I can get in trouble for that. And so it's hard for them. But it's hard for everybody. The difference is, adults can pay to fix the problem where kids can't.
Right.
Yeah. So how do people notice when something might become blackmail. What you said earlier before the show, I think, about making mistakes. I guess how do we avoid, what types of mistakes are most often targeted? Let's start there, maybe.
Listen, it starts with you, your responsibility, and having a line that you won't cross. Okay, I mean, number one, never send any compromise. If you don't send any compromising content, you're okay. Okay, and there's nothing that can be used against you unless you're married and they could use text messages. Okay, so it's just you know you have to realize anybody you connect with online is an unidentified stranger. Okay, and you cannot trust them. But what happens is there's this emotional thing that happens with men specifically is they think they're an attractive girl, or because they're really super attractive. They may, in their real life, they may never date someone this attractive, and this is as close as they're going to get to this really hot looking chick. And then they just make the mistake, and they buy it. And it it happens to people in all walks of life, because I'll talk to people, they're like, oh, that would never happen to me. I was like, yeah, trust me, it could happen to you.
No,
And
high
you just
profile
have to,
people, right?
oh my gosh, priests, rabbis, doctors, CEOs, bus drivers. They're Blackmail has no, it doesn't discriminate against anybody,
Right.
Well,
and
because human nature doesn't discriminate, right? So it's like if you're
yeah, good point. Yeah. And
so
then you have somebody who just wants to quickly get some instant gratification. But it comes down to you. Nobody buys books about preventing blackmail, okay, or
Yeah.
preventing scams. Everybody buys the books about what happens after I'm a victim. And so it has to come down to you. If it's too good to be true, it is.
Well, I think, because we talk about neurochemically what happens. We've had a lot of shows where we've talked to neuroscientists and other stuff where, when you're being persuaded, there's stuff that's going on neurochemically. And when you're in something that is erotic or, out of the norm for you, then you're firing up dopamine and oxytocin and these things that definitely, that we know scientifically, blunt judgment. And it's too late at that point if you're in it to.
I mean, who hasn't been a victim of it's not going to happen to me? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we've all said it. And but what a lot of what let me just what men don't understand about blackmail is when you are being blackmailed, it's not just you that's at risk, it's your family. And what I mean by that is I've worked cases where the blackmailer jumped the victim and went straight to his wife and says, I have all your LinkedIn followers. If you don't pay me, I'm going to send these pictures of your husband, okay, to your LinkedIn followers. I worked a case, was really devastating, where this blackmailer jumped the victim and exposed him to his daughter's what do you call it, sorority Instagram page. And and that's part of the situation that people don't realize. I mean, you can't block someone like that because you then give them the free reign to do what they want. And so it's a really devastating thing because it's I deal with people every day who feel like their life is just going to fall apart. I worked cases where these blackmailers were targeting young Asian medical students, and the embarrassment if they were ever exposed would just ruin their lives. I worked cases where they were targeting uh, Muslim men on like a grinder, a jacked, a gay dating app, and if that ever got out, their lives would just be devastated.
Be disowned by their
And
families. I mean,
yeah,
ostracized, outcast.
Some cultures they could be killed.
Killed. Yeah.
I mean, it's a devastating, devastating thing to happen to an individual. Nobody knows. I mean, nobody knows the fear that victims feel.
Yeah.
Your phone gets buzzed. All you think, oh, this is them. This is them. This is them. And I work cases where, you know, and I said to you earlier, I'm up all hours of the night, where I'll work in a day's time, I can get 100 text messages from a blackmailer. You know, and I just finished up a case, man, with this woman. She was a real woman in Colorado blackmailing a guy. It was a sugar daddy situation. And she was texting 150 times a day, just threats and this and that and this and that, man. It's just bombardment and harassment.
And this is typically they target people who have a lot to lose. I mean, this is not like, I mean,
Some do, some don't. There are different like the Filipinos and the Ivory Coast blackmails will target anybody, but then there are those that target the high net worth people. The sugar daddy situations, you know, where a guy connects with some woman, he's going to pay her for her time. He thinks it's a relationship. It's not. And those relationships almost always explode into blackmail because you want to end it. They want a payday. And so a lot of those situations, they'll go for high net worth individuals. I worked a case, man, a guy gave a woman his houseboat. I mean, he was like super wealthy just to get rid of her.
Wow. How many politicians do you think fall under this? I mean, you don't have to give names, but have you ever worked with
I've worked with several politicians. Not as much. I mean, I think there are a lot of those politicians who are just very aware of their environment,
sure,
you know, and try not to make that mistake. And they know that they're in that spotlight where they're always being watched. Where you take some guy, you know, who's a finance guy who's not, and he goes out of town, nobody knows him. He thinks it's discreet. So it's kind of different like that.
And a lot of those guys at a lot of levels now, you know, above grassroots, has a staffer or something that's going to be looking out for that kind of stuff as well.
Right.
If not a team, depending on how far up you are. Let's talk about the Epstein files. Like, have you had anybody from those? What do you think about that in general? And that's like a whole different kind of blackmail. That's more the just pure power.
Yeah, I think that's like Mossad spying. That's what that is. I don't think that's blackmail in the general sense. I think I think Epstein just created an industry off of that, but was probably I think we just know a minute amount of whatever he did. I mean, think about everybody recognizes how terrible he was as a human being.
Yeah.
But we really only know mostly the female sexual trafficking aspect of it. We don't know the whole other dark half. And that's the part that's missing from everything about him.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard the names.
Yeah. I've heard like and this is all obviously hearsay, but maybe you can lend some light. You know, even like some of these secret societies or even high end, you know, Skull and Bones, you know, those type of fraternity type organizations, they use a form of blackmail to call in favors down the road. Have you heard any truth to that? Have you dealt with any of those people? Or
I don't think I think the one common thing with a lot of those organizations are that they're very wealthy people. They come from wealthy families and they have a way of doing things. And I think that's just a normal part for the course of how they do things. I mean, I don't have any firsthand knowledge of it, but I don't think it's very surprising. Information is a great tool.
Yeah.
And, you know, have it against the right person, you know, that's it.
Yeah.
But with the Epstein stuff, I just think that there's just so much more to it that we have no clue about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the length of time and the length of time it spans and the number of people involved is just, you know, that's
right. I mean, very few men of the powerful men have really come to light. And, you know, the one we know most is Andrew, but he's always been a screw up his whole life. It's like, of course we knew that about him, but nobody did anything because he was a prince.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He got outed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I'm curious, going back to where you come in when you're dealing with this, because it takes a lot of understanding of psychology and persuasion and negotiation when you're dealing with someone like this on the other side. So, obviously, without giving away all your trade secrets, how do you go about, like, when you enter the picture with a client and you're talking to this person? How do you, how do you handle that?
Well, it's about, talking them off the cliff. Like, look, this is just a bad situation. It doesn't mean you're going to be exposed, you
Right.
know? And because one thing I'm really good at is dealing with panic and stress.
Mhm.
And it's about, look, you just have to think about the here and now. Right now, we have a job to do, and we need to focus on this job. This job is about blackmail is one day at a time. We deal with what's happening now. You can't think about what ifs, because when I talk to a client, they have like 52,000 what if questions. What if this? What if that?
What if that?
And I'm
Yeah.
like, I was like, we don't think about that. All we think about is moving forward, stalling, and getting out of it.
Okay.
And
But I guess what
that's
my
how you have to
question,
deal with it.
when you're conversing with the blackmailer, so you're basically becoming the person that you're working for. And
Right.
so you enter that conversation, there's you mentioned stalling, that's a part of it. Like, maybe talk us through that.
So
How is that handled?
it comes from my background as being a social engineer, where I was able to call in and pretext and pose as like phone company and bank and police and blah blah blah. And so I learned to be able to listen to people and listen to their voices and how they respond, what they say when they respond. So now this is through text messages. Okay, I just have this knack or this uncanny ability to read this thing going along and recognizing what's a real threat, what's a fake threat. I'm gonna ignore him for a few minutes now to see how he responds, you
Yeah.
know. And it's just I think it's more of like this innate ability to read people. I can sit
Right.
down with somebody and in less than 5 minutes time, I could tell you about them, who they are, what they are, trustworthy, not trustworthy.
Sure.
And so I think it's just this years of experience. I mean, I grew up on the streets of New York and I had a troubled past, and you
Mhm.
know I always learned about danger, and just having that sense of danger. And I think dealing with the blackmailers, I just recognized the patterns within the texting.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to sit here tell you it's A, B, C, or D. It's just this
Right.
ability to recognize. It's like a baseball, it's like a wide receiver running out. He just knows when to jump to catch the ball.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like muscle
instinctive.
memory. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I think part of it with me is very similar to that.
Mhm.
And I can ask questions and direct the conversations to go the way I want them to go.
Yeah.
And with blackmailers, all they know how to do is demand money and threaten. Once you
Right.
kind of take them out of those two things and directing conversations in other ways, they're not as savvy or good at what they do.
Sure.
Hmm.
So that's what gives me the advantage.
Right.
And I mean, I have blackmails all the time say, you're not, they hired you to pay. I was like, if you think so. And then they're wondering, would a victim really say that? No, a
Yeah.
victim
Yeah.
wouldn't say that.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just
Well,
playing them.
it
Yep.
sounds like, I mean, the key, because what you really do, I mean, your client's very emotional, and you're taking the emotion out of the equation, which is what the blackmailers. That's the main thing they're using against the
Exactly.
client is
Right.
emotion,
The
right?
right, the
Fear.
emotion, the fear, the panic.
Yeah. And when you
There's also
strip that out of the equation, like that's a totally different conversation without the fear in it
right. And
from
here's the
both
reality of
sides.
blackmail. Yeah, exactly. The reality of blackmail is blackmail should work like this. Pay me money now. If you don't pay, I expose you. Then they should expose you. But they don't do that. They want
Right.
money. So then they demand money in different ways. I have your wife's Facebook. I'm gonna send it to this person, this person, this person. I got no money. I need a couple of days. I have your brother's Facebook. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And so
Mhm.
what happens is they just keep presenting you these different scenarios, but I'm just standing my ground saying the same thing. They can't figure out how to make me pay.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, you know, they they eventually say, okay, I'll give you a few days. A few days pass by, they come back. I create another excuse, and we go through the whole thing over again. So blackmail is about promising, breaking the promise, and promising again. So after 30 days of this, they got like 20, 30, 40 new victims. So they can't keep logistically deal with all these people. So then I just fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
And then they just move on.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's how blackmail works. Yeah. And it's about protecting your identity. What I also do is sometimes I could feed them fake information. I get all these fake business websites. They look really cool.
Right.
And so I feed it to them, and then they think you work for Joe's Trucking Company. And they grab all the fake email addresses and they start, I'm gonna send it to your boss at Joe's company, this, and this. And it's just like, okay, I put a fake wife up there, fake daughter. So the blackmail thinks they got all this other information on the client, and they think he lives in a different city. I deviate the spelling of his name, so I do a whole lot of different things like that.
Yeah. Wow.
Gotta love deception, man. It can work to help you.
I know. So I've never experienced anything like that. The closest thing that I had, I think this was last year, where I had, and I've heard about this going on around the country, where people are like, they're called and they say, so I got a phone call one day while I think I was traveling, and I got a phone call that said I literally had missed I've missed, like, I missed a court appearance. I missed a court summons. I was supposed to serve on a jury or something, and I didn't appear, and there's a huge fine. And
oh wow,
I owe all this money. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, buddy. And
did you? I guess you didn't pay.
I didn't pay. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But they said no. I said, I haven't received any summons. I haven't received anything in the mail. And they said, yeah, you've missed. And if you don't pay this, then you're going to jail. And so I literally told him, I said, listen, I see where you're calling from. And it was very, it was calling from the location of my town. So that's what made it seem so legit, was this was not a foreign number to me. This was a local number that was outside of the area that I lived in. So it made it seem like it was calling from the local sheriff's department or the local city county police department where I live. And I said, listen, I'm going to hang up and then call back, right, to confirm this. And then that's where they started panicking. He's like, no, you can't hang up. You can't hang up. You got to go straight to such and such and pay this fine. And that's when I started getting very suspicious, but then I finally just hung up. So, and they didn't call back. Yeah. But I've heard about this scam going around where a lot of people have fallen victim to this, where they panicked, and they've, out of fear, they've actually paid.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a similar one too, where they contact older people because they got information from their Facebook and who their grandkids are, and they'll call the grandmother and they'll say, "Hi, Carol, this is Ted. I go to college with your grandson. Listen, our car, his car broke down. He asked me to call. Can you Western Union some money?" And people do it.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I mean, if you're asking me for money, I'm checking you extra hard. I'm not giving that.
I know, man. It's like, dude, because I mean, it was like some ungodly. I mean, it was like thousands of dollars I owed, and I'm like, this doesn't sound right. And and I kept asking questions.
Like, I'll wait for the police.
Yeah, exactly. And they said, no, you need to go straight to the police department now, or this, which was like ironic, because it's like, how are you getting paid? Anyway, I started asking a lot of questions, and finally, things didn't make sense. So I finally just said, listen, I'm going to hang up and call the police department and confirm this. And he's like, no. Then when I could tell that he was like, no, you can't do that. Then I was like, oh, there's something up here. There's something weird with this phone call that I'm getting.
Yeah.
But I think they're targeting a lot of older people too. I mean, a lot of older people are very susceptible to things like that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they don't. I'll tell you just a quick story though, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
The early days of when caller ID came out,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I must have owed money on something. I don't remember what it was. It was like my broke ass days.
Yeah.
And so the early days of Call ID, I get this call. This person says, "Hi, this is so and so from the Internal Revenue Service," and I'm thinking, "Yeah, I'm just gonna hang up on you any minute, okay?"
Sure.
And he goes, "I need to speak to Frank Ahearn. You owe some money."
Yeah.
And I was like, "You're not the IRS, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he got really aggressive. I was like, "Screw you!" And I hung up on him. Right. So what I
Yeah.
did was I busted his number through the phone company. And I found out his name and address.
Yeah.
Okay. The idiot didn't realize who he was calling, and so
Oh.
then I look in a reverse directory book and I find
Yeah.
like a diner across the street. So I call the diner and I say, "Hey, listen, how you doing? This is so and so. Listen, we're working on the street. You guys are the diner in the middle of the block." They're like, "Yeah." I was like, "House number 742. What does that look like?" And they gave me a total description of this building, right? This little small apartment building. So I call this guy's number back. I wait about like an hour and I said, "Look, I know where you live.
Oh
As a matter of
shit.
fact, I have somebody standing outside the building right now. It's red bricks with the white trim. As a matter of fact, there's such and such car sitting out there." I said, "Wait till you walk outside," and I hung up on him.
Oh,
Yeah, he was
you
like just
you turned the
freaking out.
tables.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did a very similar blackmail case where this is really. I hope I'm not keeping you guys too long. The
Oh.
This young girl, she was from Saudi Arabia, and she had a dual lifestyle. She had her family lifestyle, but she had an Instagram account where she had like wild looking bikini photos up there. She hooks up with this guy and online, and she sends him some compromising photos, and he starts threatening her and blackmailing her. But she gave me some information. I was able to find him down in Florida, right? And so I didn't want to do the same type of thing. I said, let me just dip this thing in the bud, right? So I waited till about 2 o'clock in the morning and I called him. And he goes, "Hello." And I said, "You're gonna want to listen to this call, buddy. And you better listen really good." I said, "You are so and so. You live at such and such." I said, "You're blackmailing such and such girl." I said, "Your mother works at such and such hospital."
Oh
I said,
wow.
"I'm going to tell you, you better delete everything you have on her. If anything comes online about her, we're coming for you." He
That's
went, "I'm
awesome.
sorry. I'm sorry. We are." I just hung up on him, and he was scared.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Turn the
mean,
tables.
sometimes you can get some justice out of these people, in a
Oh,
weird sort of fearful justice.
Yeah.
what is typically how do they respond when like they
Someone like
realize that
that.
the tables have turned and they're now the
Uh,
big
when you tell somebody their home address,
yeah.
it's unsettling.
Yeah.
Especially at 2 o'clock in the morning. And when they say, and he was like maybe like 24 years old, and I was like, "How dare you do that to that woman?"
Mm, yeah.
And I didn't threaten him, because sometimes, I mean, sometimes, not threatening anything is more threatening and
Yeah.
more fearful because it's just calm you know,
Yep.
and so sometimes, sometimes you get those great opportunities.
Right.
Hey, Jonathan, do you remember? I don't know. It's probably been 2 years ago now. There was a PDF going around, and it was attached to an email. And in the PDF, it had a picture of your house, and there was a letter that said,
Oh yeah.
"We've been
That's
watching
the
you."
Bitcoin email, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this one was like, "We've been watching you, been using porn. Like, we're gonna
Yep.
send this to all your friends and family. Here's a picture of your house.
Yep.
We know your IP address." Like,
Yep.
that was a convincing letter. Like, that was
It
like
was.
a very like, and that a
Yeah,
little extra detail, like you're talking about, Frank, of having the picture of the house, which you can get on Google Street, Google Maps now.
right. And
Super
sometimes they would
easy.
have a lot of that comes from where they bought credit card information from the dark web. And so a lot of that they'll out of proof, they'll have like a login name that you used at one point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And um, yeah, but it would say, you need to send such and such within like 48 hours, or it's
Right.
like blackmail is
Yeah.
not waiting 48 hours. I still get people contacting me about that, and I'm like, it's fake. Don't worry about it. I'm not going
Yeah.
to charge anything. Just ignore it. Are you sure?
Yeah.
They
I
have my
remember
house in
those.
there,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, big deal if you got me on video. Who doesn't do that, you know?
Yeah.
I know. In today's day and age, like as painful as that would be, like there's also a part of it. It's like it's so commonplace among so many people that like I just don't know that that has the sting it would have in 1950 or 60 or 80 or whatever. You know?
Yeah. Right. Right.
Listen,
like,
if you send that compromising stuff to my sisters and brother, they'd be like, "Yeah, that's Frankie for you." Yeah,
It's about right.
yeah.
We knew it.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes, unfortunately, the problem with blackmail is, these are people who have something to lose, and they,
Yeah.
I had one client. He said, "Frank, e- even the blackmail word to my wife, we're going to divorce court." I mean, I worked with Amish people, and
Mhm.
uh, so when you have some people say to me, screw it, I don't care if they expose me. And I'm like, that's great, no problem. I said, but not everybody has that ability where they can just say that.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll
Yes.
tell you the funniest thing somebody ever said to me. So this guy contacts me. So my thing is like, okay, photos are compromising. Are you identifiable in them? That's important.
Yeah.
And the guy said to me, well, I think my friends would recognize the tractor. I'm like, what?
What?
Goes, I was out in the fields and I took a picture of myself naked by the tractor. I'm like, okay, man, And another guy says to me, he said, yeah, my wife would recognize the interior of the car. I'm like, you're snapping photos of yourself in a car? What's wrong with you, man?
Yeah.
You got deeper problems than blackmail.
Right.
So
Yeah.
people do some wild stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said earlier, they don't, it's like some people just don't think about it at the time they're doing this, but everything's available.
I remember my mother said to me when I was a kid, man, my mother, she would have insight every once in a while.
Yeah.
And she'd say, Frankie, whatever you do, don't pass notes in school. Why she said that to me, I don't know. Just because you never know, somebody might use it against you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So, and it's the same thing in blackmail.
Mhm.
Don't pass the stuff.
Yeah.
But I think, but I think it's just that it's just so easy to do. And it's so convenient. I think that's one of the problems. And like you said,
think-
you get that stuff working on in your head, and you're like, oh,
Yeah, and we
And
get
probably
so
a lot of it-
comfortable with these
Yeah.
platforms.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like we
You get
think
comfortable,
they're
and
safe.
you may be like, some people may be under the influence too at the time. You don't
Yeah.
know. Like it's like,
yeah. I mean, that's pretty common as well. But blackmail. Typically, romance scams happen to women,
mhm.
but more and more blackmail is happening to women where it's more devastating for women because they go through this romance scam where the money's taken from them, their heart's broken because they think they were in love, and now that piece of
Yes.
garbage is now blackmailing them.
Yeah.
And so a lot of blackmail is like target married women online, and because you don't even need compromising photos, just text messages,
Yeah.
that's enough to blow people out of water. And these are like these disgusting, misogynistic, cruel men. I mean, the things that they say are just horrifying.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of these women are broke because they've spent all their money sending it to the romance scammer,
Oh yeah.
or they don't have access where because they're married and they just can't get the money. The men always find the money though.
Yeah. Yeah. A little more difficult for women, I guess. But
Yeah,
they-
it's terrifying for women. It's a terrible. I mean, it's because it's a longer crime. Blackmail is an instant crime like this, and it only lasts for most people like a month to 45 days of their life,
Mhm.
where it could be several months for a woman.
Yeah. Wow.
Man, whole nother world out there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm sure you're
Yeah.
busy. You stay pretty busy. I mean, with everything.
yeah, yeah. I
That's the
mean,
world we live in.
I'm a workaholic. I love to work.
Yeah.
Because between I do work between the blackmail work and the extreme privacy work, and sometimes the disappearing work. So it kind of ranges, and yeah, I mean, and I'm
What's your
good at
favorite
it.
of those? What's your favorite of the
I like the action of the blackmail because I know it sounds I love stress. I operate really good under stress, and I like the stress of the blackmail business.
It's like a puzzle to figure out as you're going.
Yeah, it's just, you're at that tip, man. They're ready to expose, they're gonna expose, they're gonna do this, this, and this. And all of a sudden, hours later, I just back them off and it's done with, and I fixed it. And, it's because I used to love the skip tracing. Skip tracing and the social engineering was a rush, man. It was like going into a phone company and pulling phone records, or pretexting Scotland Yard and getting criminal records, pretexting Interpol and getting all these, criminal records all over the world, and, you know, banks. And I used to do a lot of work for tabloids, man. And just getting shit on these famous people and stuff like that. And it was a rush, man. But you're hunting someone down, you're having a problem, you can't find them, and all of a sudden that one little thing happens. You go,
Yeah,
there they are. I got them.
Yeah, that's why we all watch the crime shows and stuff, because you're waiting. What's that one little thing that turns the case in the show? The NCIS or that whole genre is built on that one turn.
Yeah, it always and it's the same turn every week, pretty much.
Pretty much.
They find there's the crime, they arrest the guy, it's the wrong guy, then they find the thing and they arrest the right guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in skip tracing, I was just saying, it's not brain surgery. It's just finding that one little piece, man. I found people the stupidest ways. I remember clients would hire me to find someone. The first thing I did when somebody hired me to find someone?
What's that?
I used to call directory assistants. And sometimes they would just have a published number in the city. And it'd be like, so I'd wait an hour and then send the client the information.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the work that I really, really loved. But, when I was doing it, I was breaking the laws big time. You can't do that anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
They frown upon those things.
Well, now there's people search websites that you can just buy a subscription to. And
garbage.
Is it garbage?
Like people say to me, like when Google came out, I could find someone in Google. I was like, yeah, I'm not hunting the guys on Google, okay? I mean, come on. It's just regurgitated database information, and just because the information's there, you have to confirm that the person is at that location,
right?
And so there's two steps to finding people. It's finding them and then actually confirming that they're physically there.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Because somebody has an electric bill doesn't mean that they're actually there.
Yeah, I mean, I've moved 20, 25 times in my life at least. So, I've probably got a lot of bad addresses out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of addresses too.
Yeah. So,
but everything goes back to my address in the Bronx now, because I've lived in the States, a long time. And there are people contacting me like, I know where you live. You live on 3951 Gouverneur in the Bronx. I'm like, yeah, I do. You're good. You're really good at this.
Yeah, meet you out front.
Yeah.
So
my brother says.
So many of these services that promise they can scrub all that information, because you see companies out there that are like, you can scrub all that information and keep your keep your identity private.
But the irony of that whole thing is the person who wants the information scrubbed has got a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
I mean,
you got social media going, and they're like, I need to scrub this. I need to.
Yeah. I mean, I see probably the biggest one advertised right now is Incogni. It's a service that claims to remove you from the, the data broker.
Yeah, they're advertising
a
lot on podcasts right now, I think.
Yeah, they're doing a lot.
Here's the question: what do you care if your stuff is there? Nobody can do anything with it.
Right.
I mean, unless you're hiding from someone, and if you're hiding from someone, they're not going to find you. They're not going to find you because of the database. They're going to find you in another way.
Right.
And when I used to look for people, see, what people don't realize, when you're skip tracing and looking for someone, you don't look for them. You look for the information they left behind, or the people they left behind, because one of those things knows where you are. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've called somebody's mother, like, hi, how you doing? This is Pat Brown. I'm calling from so-and-so. Listen, your son sent us a resume and we want to hire him. The problem is I lost his phone number. Mother be like, oh my God, he's going to get a job as a lawyer. Hold on. And he lives
I'll
at
get
such
that
and
for
such
you
place.
right away.
Wow.
Exactly. And you know what would happen? The smart mother would be like, well, why don't you give me your information and I'll have him call you back. I'd be like, okay,
Sure.
great. So we'd hang up, right? Then I'd call into the phone company. I'd be like, hi, this is Pat Brown from AT&T. Just need to bring up a customer account. Customer made a call at, such and such time. What number are we showing that going to? And boop, there's his son's phone number.
Boom. Wow.
Those were the days, my friend. I could do a whole show with you guys about skip tracing and social engineering.
What do you think about all these? What's your opinion of all the flock? There's been a lot of discussion on flock cameras all over the place now.
You mean America, land of freedom and democracy? I mean, how much more crime are you going to stop with all those things when you think about it?
Yeah.
I mean, is it really? The problem is that people don't question, is it really necessary there? Does 10 Main Street in Hamburg, New Jersey need a flock camera? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Where they're putting these, they're putting a lot of these in affluent neighborhoods. They're not putting these because that's the city councils that have the money.
Right. Yeah.
When does it stop?
Yeah.
I was just watching this documentary. I don't know if you guys seen it. Orwell, 2 + 2 = 5, and it's really a very interesting thing. This guy does this documentary, and it's just using Orwell's writing and just demonstrating about totalitarian governments and things of that nature. And I look at that and think, you want the right to bear arms, but you don't want the right to drive down the street without being recorded.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that picture?
Right.
I don't get that. I really don't. Living in Europe, it's a lot freer. It's not as, we don't have the same worry about this government intrusion.
Right.
And, I live in 2 places in Europe. The one other place I live in, you never see cameras on the streets. You just don't see them. It's just not necessary. And, there's I'm totally against it. And I just think it's just overkill.
Yep.
And not only that, again, it always comes down to what are they doing with the data?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the lead investor behind it, Mark Andreessen, was also tied up in Cambridge Analytica.
Oh my God, what a shocker!
Yeah. So know where the data is going.
That's right.
It's a pure. That's the thing. It's not a safety play. It's a data play.
Yeah,
it's got nothing to do with safety.
Everything is a total data play. It's telling us, oh, you're free because of this, but don't look, as you're walking down every street, you're being recorded. And by the way, I can follow you all the way to where you live based upon these cameras. I can do. There's that recent case where that woman was accused. They thought she was the car accident that killed some people or something like that, and it was a mistake.
Yeah.
And instead of pulling them down, it's like, oh, mistakes happen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think the idea of freedom is being lost in America, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
And I just find it very disturbing.
Yeah.
I don't even want.
People are fighting back, so that's good.
I won't even fly to the States at this point because I don't want them checking my phone or my laptop. Not that I'm doing anything wrong, but what to think that I have to be concerned about that going to a place where I'm a citizen.
Yeah.
And that if I don't bring a phone with me or a laptop and they ask me, why didn't you bring one? I say, well, because I don't want you to check it. I can then be charged with a crime.
Yeah.
It's like, that's really makes sense, man.
Right.
Yeah. Crazy world.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to know you're out there fighting for
absolutely
people, and
makes us feel a little better.
What's the best funny. What's the best way to find people to find out about you, Frank?
Just go to my website, man, or just type my name in.
FrankAhearn.com. HEARN. There it is.
AHEARN.
Yep.
And that's me. There I go.
That's a badass picture of you, Frank.
I think it's pretty cool. It's only a few years old. I'm going to update it soon.
You shouldn't.
Reminds me of that the one Joe Rogan did too. Same black shirt, black background.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, but I want to be one of those guys, it's like a dating app picture, you know what I'm saying? You see that, but then I show up, and but at least my videos, you see my videos, you recognize I'm a little older. So
that's not a dating app. That's mean I'm coming after you.
Yeah.
Mofo.
That's the guy you want that's the guy you want standing behind you when you're in exactly the type of situations these people are in. So
yeah, I always used to say, man,
I think it fits the brand.
I always used to say, man, if your name comes across my desk, you got some problems.
You got problems.
Yeah, I hope I never have to work with you, Frank.
Well, I'm always here if you need.
Yeah. All right. Any last words of parting wisdom or, things that people...
The minute you press enter or send, you do not own it anymore.
Twice.
Remember that. And there's nothing you can do about it. And a hacker's not going to get that picture back for you either.
Yeah.
And that's it. Be safe, be smart, and be cool.
Yeah.
Maybe leave your phone behind when you're drinking some of that liquid courage on the weekends.
Yeah.
I rarely.
And, if she's really super beautiful, you have to ask yourself, why is she talking to me?
That's it.
Absolutely. Why is she out? So that's it, man. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well,
Frank, it's been a pleasure. Yeah.
It's late there, so we'll let you get on to a client case or a nap or whatever you need up next. So
FrankAhearn.com. Frank, we'll hold tight. We'll put you in the green room, and Sean and I will close out. We'll say a few parting words on the back end, but we'll have your website posted on our show page for this episode.
Cool.
And we get these out pretty quick, so we'll have this up probably tomorrow. But
thanks a lot.
Really enjoyed the conversation.
Ditto, man. It was great. You guys take care.
Yep.
All right,
thanks.
Bye.
Hold tight real quick. We'll close out. Awesome.
Man.
Very interesting.
Waiting for the tell-all book to come out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably wouldn't be good for business. The opposite.
It might be good. Well,
we have to change a lot of names and stuff.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Be a fascinating.
I would read that thing in a heartbeat, though. Those kind of stories, like, dude, I wouldn't
be a cool documentary too.
It would be. It would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's just wrap it up.
Yeah. Good stuff.
445.
Yeah. Check us out. Persuasion by the Pint. It's episode 445. 445. Yes. Yep. And Frank Ahearn, you can check him out again. I want to mention the website, Frank Ahearn. That is Frank and then AHEARN.com. Again, we'll have it on our show page, episode 445. And it's been fun. We'll see you next week. We've got a couple of guests lined up for the next couple of weeks. Great copywriter joining us next week. And that's all I'll say. I'm not going to, I'm just going to tease it.
All right. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. So have a great weekend. We'll see you.
See you.